Alrighty, so we are at the end of our journey, almost 6 months traveling around Australia. Big journey. We've got a lot to recap and a lot to sort of go through in this video. But also as well, just to let you know where we are back in New Zealand. We're in MIQ, which is Managed Isolation and Quarantine. We were initially supposed to spend 7 days here, but how long did we end up spending?
10.
10 days. And why is that?
That's because someone on our flight from Sydney to Auckland had a positive case of Omicron.
Yeah.
So, therefore, we needed to take extra tests and stay a little bit longer. But we've gotten back 4 negative tests now, and today is Freedom Day, where we get to
leave.
Except free.
Go outside. A very interesting 10 days. We spent Christmas here in quarantine as well. Give people a bit of a rundown of our day-to-day. How did it work?
Well, each day was a little bit different. As much as you want to stick to your routine, doesn't always go as planned. So every day we would try and do a little bit of exercise and yoga. Shane would do a lot of video editing. I did a lot of lazing around because we didn't have the luxury of lazing around during those 6 months trip through most of it. So I really just gave myself the chance to just relax. We watched movies.
Yeah, we watched a few movies. Yeah. And the thing that Miranda looked forward to the most every single day was, of course, the what? The food.
The food, absolutely. The food was amazing here. They fed us so well, almost too well. I'm like so full from all the food they fed us, and get dessert with every meal. It's pretty luxurious.
It is. We're at the 4 Points by Sheraton here in Auckland, which is like a 4.5-star hotel. We got a little bit of outside time each day, or most days anyway. We've got about 30 minutes outside where you just get a bit of fresh air and go for a little bit of a walk, all within the confines of the actual hotel grounds. But you know, at least we got a little bit. But we are looking forward to getting outside. We are looking forward to getting back to Queenstown. That's what's next on the agenda for us. We're heading back home where we've been living for almost 3 years now. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about the trip right now and do a little bit of a reflection of the actual journey itself. So we do have a few questions. The first one I'm going to throw at you, Miranda. High points. What were your high points of the trip?
It's really difficult because I feel like there were so many. For me, like some of my favorite parts of the trip were places where I think we got to see the most wildlife. I don't know, for me, I would have to say tropical North Queensland, rainforests and reefs area. That was a high point for me during the trip. We were also sort of like just starting the trip and we were super energetic, wanting to see everything, not worn out yet. So we really enjoyed that section. And for me also, beaches of Western Australia were just stunning, the gorges, everything like that. So those were definitely 2 high points for me, I think, during the trip was each side of the country, tropical North Queensland and Western Australia.
We were kind of good at timing things as well. We sort of made sure, and you'll probably notice this, that we were in the north during the winter time, and you really don't want to be in the north in the summer because it is the wet season. It rains a lot. The humidity is, 80-90% in the summertime. It's even pretty hot in the winter time.
It was insanely hot.
So we really tried to time this as well as possible, and the added side effect or the added benefit was that we were actually able to go through borders and travel around while COVID was breaking out in the southern and eastern sides of Australia. So kind of going in an anti-clockwise direction, it really worked to our benefit in a lot of different ways, not just the weather and temperature, but also as well escaping some of those lockdowns. And I'll just reiterate what Miranda was saying there as well. A lot of my high points were some of those areas, especially towards the start of the trip. We were so excited to get out on this big adventure. We had so much enthusiasm and energy to get up there. Moving across to the other side as well, WA has some great beaches. We got down to the southern parts of WA when it was still a little bit chilly, so maybe if you're just doing a trip down to those areas, summertime would be a really cool time to go down there, because a lot of those beaches we didn't unfortunately get to go swimming, like around Esperance and things like that. I think I did a little bit of small swimming in Cape Grant.
It was too cold.
It was icy cold, but they are beautiful, those places. Another highlight for me, which is I'm editing right now, is Karijini National Park. This is in the northwestern area of Western Australia, just south of the Kimberley, in the Pilbara region, and it's stunning. You know, it's a place that I've always dreamed of going to, and it totally lived up to expectations. Even though we're sort of at a point in the trip where we're starting to get run down, especially for me doing all of the driving, you know, some of these long 6-hour drive days, it was really, really tiring for me. But looking back at the memories and the photographs right now going through it, it is such a magical place. So there are a lot of sort of hidden gems in Australia that aren't always your number one tourist destinations. What about low points, Miranda?
So yeah, as with any journey, you'll have your highs and lows. Things aren't always as amazing as they appear to be. But I would say some of the low points were the points where we were the most exhausted and sleep deprived. Like towards the top end, I would say it was just so hot, like every day, every night. The heat was relentless. I couldn't sleep. And the heat also really exhausts you, just being in it. And like me and Shane and I were super active. We like to go hiking and walking. We could not bear to walk in the heat more than like 1 kilometer. So it was tough. And also I think like the Kimberley was absolutely stunning, but there was so much dust and dirt, and by the time we got to the coast in Broome, I'm like, oh my god, thank goodness a beach, you know, because like the dust gets all over the place, it's in your nose and your sinuses, and after a while it's just really nice to have some ocean air. But yeah, for me that was some of the low points where I was the most sleep deprived, and you're not really yourself when you're sleep deprived. It's a bit stressful. How about you?
Well, yeah, speaking of sleep deprivation, I suppose, like, I already struggle as it is to sleep. I'm a pretty light sleeper. Miranda has the gift of being able to sleep through a hurricane, which is great. But for me, you know, the slightest thing will keep me awake, and wind itself was one of the biggest things. Staying in the rooftop tent, as we did, most of the time it was great, but on those windy nights, it just felt like you're in an earthquake. It was rocking, and the sound was so loud. I slept pretty much regularly with earplugs in, but some nights they just didn't do anything at all, just because of the extreme weather, the extreme wind. The rain was usually all right, to be honest. Aside from having to pack the tent away wet, we didn't have that many rainy days until maybe towards the end of the trip, so we're kind of lucky with that. It was mainly the wind for me. It was terrible when it did shake up, and there were a few places like that, mainly along the west coast. We had a lot of really, really bad wind. Off the top of my head, up towards Exmouth area, Cape Range National Park, yeah, we had some really windy nights there.
Shark Bay as
well, yeah, exactly, yeah. So there is a saying in Western Australia, WA stands for windy always, and definitely it lived up to that reputation in a lot of places. But aside from complaining, though, there were some great things, and there were some amazing memories that we're taking with us. What do you miss the most, just looking back at it now, just wishing you could be in one spot?
Maybe I would like to go back to tropical North Queensland, one of my favorites.
Yep.
I just really loved it there.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It is paradise. It has the reputation of being paradise. You know, the Great Barrier Reef, it is spectacular. It's so huge. You know, we did a little bit of scuba diving, but we only just touched up on it. This area is massive. You can spend a lot of time.
So much more.
Yeah. It's also one of those places as well, and we sort of really kind of push the conservation side of things as well. It's one of those places we really need to look after, because the way things are going, it isn't going too well, I should say. So we need to look after those places because they are really important. And so conservation is a big message that we always like to push with these videos. Places that surprise you the most?
Surprised me. I think the places that really surprised me, where I didn't have many expectations of, but really just like wowed me, probably like things around the Red Center, like Kings Canyon. That really surprised me. I didn't think anything of it. Had no expectations. Didn't see many like photos or videos of it beforehand, like we probably did at one point, but seeing it for myself, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Like around every single view just got better and better. And Shane told me that because he's done it before.
I've done
he's
it
like,
before.
You're wowed about this, just wait. I'm like, how does it get better than this?
I've been lucky enough to go to a lot of places in Australia in my time. So, you know, the Red Centre was a place that I already knew was pretty spectacular. So I already had that expectation there. A lot of the places I didn't get to go to, pretty much most of southwest WA, aside from Perth and Fremantle, a lot of those places wowed me. Cape Legrand and the Esperance area down there is absolutely stunning.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to go back down to that area, especially in the summertime. and that would be one place that I need to return to as well. Any places you need to return to?
So many places, but if I can also add to the place that loved me, I'd have to say Rottnest Island, because it was already one of the things that I was really looking forward to in the trip, and I already had high expectations, but it just blew me away, like exceeded my really high expectations. That's one place, because when you think of Rottnest Island, you think of the adorable quokka, of course. And I knew that there'd be quokkas, and there are quokkas everywhere. But also when we did the bike ride around the island, I had no idea that it had the most stunning beaches that you'd ever see.
It is amazing.
It's
so beautiful.
Amazing.
The beaches, the scenery, the wildlife. It's definitely one of our top wildlife encounters. Any other top wildlife encounters?
Ooh, yes, definitely Atherton Tablelands with the tree kangaroo.
Oh, the tree kangaroo was amazing. It's such a strange creature.
Oh yeah, and just the bird life everywhere. I think in the Northern Territory we saw a lot of really cool birds. And just everywhere.
Miranda's obsessed with birds. She is like become a bird nut during this trip. She's constantly posting in bird groups, calling out what bird this is and what bird that is. What was your favorite bird?
Oh no. I have
your top couple of favorite birds.
Okay, my top couple of favorite birds. I would have to say the little fairy wrens. We saw splendid fairy wrens, and we saw superb fairy wrens. Those were the cutest, little, most vibrant birds. We also saw a tawny frogmouth up in Cape York, which I love.
They're very cute.
The gang cockatoos that have like the really funny hairdos.
So that one in Canberra, didn't you?
Saw that in Canberra. There's so many gorgeous birds, and also the kingfishers. I love the sacred kingfisher and the azure kingfisher. That we saw in Kakadu. Yeah, Kakadu was amazing for that.
Birds, yeah. Look, a lot of people don't think of birds so much when they think of Australia, especially people not from Australia. You know, they think of the fuzzy marsupial, cuddly, or the, you know, scary snakes and things like that. But to be honest, Australia has the largest population of bird species in the world of any other continent. And a lot of scientists theorize that modern birds, actually a lot of them originate from the Australian continent. So it's kind of interesting to know that Australia is sort of this spectacular place for bird watching, which is pretty cool. Aside from that as well, I did mention before places that you think we need to return to. What do you think?
There's so many places that I was like, oh, I have to go back to here, and there. It's like your list grows as you travel around.
A couple of places we mentioned, like we said before, down in Esperance area as well. I'd love to go back there in the summertime. A lot of the southern area because it was rained out, and you know there were a lot of COVID restrictions. Victoria, for example, at the time, you know, COVID was sort of rife, and it still isn't too great down there. So we didn't get to see as much of Victoria as we'd like. So I definitely want to go through some of the Vic Highlands and explore those a little bit more, and also places we missed like the Kimberley. You know, we wanted to do the Gibb River Road, but because of the whole situation with the back window, that should be one of the low points as well. Smashing the back window of our canopy, it threw us off so much. Just a lot of complications around getting that fixed, as you can see in the YouTube series. The whole Gibb River Road section is something we have to go back and do one day, you know. One day. There's a lot of places that are one day. Tasmania, we didn't include it on this series, but if you have a look through our other YouTube series, you'll actually see that we did Tasmania last year, and we sort of explored that in 2 weeks, but there's a lot more of Tasmania I'd like to see as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we want to do the 3 Cape Walk as well, and the Walls of Jerusalem, and the Coast Track. There's a lot of places down there that are worth checking out, so Tasmania is also a good one. If you've only seen this series, you can go back and watch some of our older videos as well, which is pretty cool. SA, there's a lot of South Australia we didn't get to do. The furthest north we went was the Flinders Ranges, but there's Lake Eyre, there's a whole bunch of stuff through the centre there that we've sort of missed out a whole chunk. Yeah, there's a few places, you know, it's a big continent. You can't really cover everything, especially in 5.5 months like we did.
Yeah, but to be fair, like, instead of missing out on a lot of things, because our itinerary was set in the beginning of the trip, we didn't miss out on anything in our itinerary, really. We added on things.
Yeah,
so.
we did. And look, that happens when you plan these things.
We added on quite a bit.
Yeah, especially 5.5 months covering the country. Our suggestion would be always take it slower if you can. We didn't really have that option. You know, we were lucky enough to sort of have the opportunities we did to go when we did, but that's basically, you know, what you can do in a 5.5 month period, whereas other people will take a couple of years to do that sort of thing, or at least a year to do that sort of thing. Miranda's going to let you know what our future plans are. What are we doing next, Miranda?
So the plan is we're going to work over the next 6 months in Queenstown, and then hopefully in June or July, we will head over to Canada and Alaska and the States. This was supposed to be the plan for July of 2020, but for obvious reasons that couldn't happen because it got canceled due to COVID. We tried to reschedule it to this year, it didn't happen, so Australia instead, which was amazing, but we're hoping for next year.
This is really important. It's been, almost 4 years since Miranda's seen her family, so the main priority is getting over there, seeing her family, and hopefully we can do as much of our initial plan as possible, which is pretty much Canada and Alaska all the way through. But time will tell. It's a very changing world at the moment. It's hard to plan anything in advance, so our main priority is getting there and doing that, and that will be our focus for this year. But hopefully there'll be a great adventure in that we can capture for you guys as well. And either way, even in New Zealand, we're always doing great stuff anyway, so stick with the channel, keep an eye on what we're doing, because we'll be releasing more stuff coming soon. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thanks, guys. See you later.
See ya.
What did Father Christmas get you, Chicky? Tacos. For a Christmassy breakfast? Oh.
And a Christmas cracker.
Yeah, your bonbon.
Salad.
This is Miranda's routine, daily routine. She loves to go through all of our food items. This is her highlight of every day.
Oh, this is my eggplant dish.
Nice.
And this is your dish.
What is my one?
I have no idea.
Goop-de-goo.
Bet it's delicious. But we both got potato salad.
There you go.
And these desserts.
Just the desserts. Oh, look at that. Merry Christmas, Chicky.
Merry Christmas. So one of our friends here in Auckland named Julia has just delivered us 10 cookies.
10 cookies.
10! She just asked, like, she's like, oh, I've got a cookie stand, what do you want? We're like, oh, we'll just get one each, you know? She brings us 10! Thank you, Julia.
There you go. You'll eat them in 10 minutes, Miranda.
I will.